Bills Mafia. Tonight on the Air Raid Hour post-game show, we are diving deep into all things Bills Panthers. We've got the latest injury updates, major takeaways, and a whole lot more. Stay tuned. This is a show you won't want to miss. But first,
welcome to the Air Raid Hour, a Cover One Network podcast. Here are your hosts, Judge Mathis and Tilt Money.
welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to the Air Raid Hour. My name is Steve Mathis. You can find me on X at the Bills Guys. Joined as always by my co-host Dave Till, and you can find him on Twitter at Tilt Money. I just called it X and Twitter, so hot start.
Hey, you covered all your bases. I covered all your bases there.
Just Tippecanoe comes in and says, you better show up. I already smashed that like button. If you're in here, please do us a favor, smash that like button. And thank you, just the Tippecanoe. The Buffalo Bills 40, the Carolina Panthers 9. The Buffalo Bills now sit at 5-2. Dave, you were there in person in the stadium. I heard the estimates were as high as 70% Bills fans in attendance. What's your prediction there, and what was the atmosphere like on game day there in Charlotte?
Yeah, I mean, driving in, we drove in Sunday morning. Not even kidding. Like, it took us, like, we were in uptown Charlotte, Bills fans everywhere, clearly outnumbering Panthers fans, like, all around at the tailgates everywhere. It was pretty evident that it was a takeover, as they call it, right, in some of these situations. And look, I know, like, a lot of away, there's a lot of good, like, traveling, like the Steelers travel well, other teams travel well. The Bills fans really travel well to Charlotte. And it was 8 years ago that I was at the last game, the first year of the Sean McDermott era, when Zay dropped it in the end zone. We won't talk about that. But point being, it was a Bills takeover. And I can vouch that it was somewhere in the neighborhood of probably 60 to 70% Bills fans in the stadium as well. And that was sort of confirmed through all the different social media posts you saw today, with, like, the players, Deion Dawkins, talking about how it felt like a home game for the Bills. And so it was definitely a takeover. So many more Bills fans than Panthers fans. And you got other people coming in saying they were at the game. It was great. And it was great because it really did feel like kind of a home away from home if you were a Bills fan there.
Yeah, and the fans who are on hand, they saw a show. The Buffalo Bills winning 40-9. Now, I don't know, maybe some left asking for their money back because the Bills didn't complete a pass of more than 8 air yards. But, there are some people that still enjoyed the victory, despite the fact that there wasn't a lot of downfield passing. We're going to get into our one big thing in a moment, but before we do, quick injury update here. The only major injury to come out of this game is a big one, and that is Ed Oliver. It was confirmed today that he tore his bicep. He's done for at least the end of the regular season. He posted on Instagram today that he's going to be ready to be back in the playoffs, sort of for that ring chase. If you look and talk to some of the medical experts out there on social media, they say maybe the divisional game, maybe the AFC Championship game. So if the Buffalo Bills are going to compete to win a Super Bowl this year, they might have Ed Oliver to do it the last couple of games, but they're going to have to get there pretty much without him. And that is a huge blow to this Buffalo Bills defense. Your thoughts on the Ed Oliver injury?
Yeah, it's a huge blow, and he was playing well, obviously, in this game before he went out. We had just gotten him back a week ago, or before the bye, and so, like, we thought we were maybe turning a corner with some of the injuries on the defense. Hairston coming back, Oliver coming back before the bye, and now you really kind of lose the heart and soul of the interior of that defensive line. And there are people that are still out there that are probably a little bit torn on Ed Oliver and sort of how good of a player, he is. But the reality is that he is one of the best defensive players on the team, and he is the best interior defender we have. And it's going to be tough to kind of go through the rest of this stretch of season without him. And look, yeah, it'll be great to have him if we can get him when he's back, but we have to get there first. And obviously getting there first, we would have been probably pretty reliant on him. And so not to say that it can't be done. Deion Walker has been obviously playing well. They got Ogunjobi back. Hoyt was back. We're going to get into that. And remains to be seen when TJ Sanders may come back as well. Maybe that's in a few weeks, but still a big hole. And obviously you got to kind of now lean on Daquan Jones as a veteran presence there, and wondering what his situation is going to be injury wise as well. So that front, as far as the veterans are concerned, banged up, but the Bills, at least to their credit, had some depth there on that D line, and it's going to be tested now the rest of the way in this tough stretch of the schedule that's coming up.
Yeah, the 2025 defensive tackle room is looking a lot like the 2023 linebacker room for the Buffalo Bills. Ed Oliver, I mean, when he's played this year, he's played at an all-pro level, 3 sacks in 3 games, 7 TFLs. He was finally starting to be consistently that impact player that we want him to be. And now, unfortunately, the season is over for him. And I had a lot of hope and confidence. I feel like we finally got the defensive line recipe right. We're going to talk about our edge group later on the show. I felt like they were really coming on. You finally seems like you found a guy to pair with Ed Oliver and Deion Walker. So it seems like the Bills were finally humming, finally clicking along the front 7, and then this happened. So really unfortunate for the Buffalo Bills. And now we got to assess our options, because the only 2 healthy defensive tackles on the roster are Deion Walker and Larry Ogunjobi. Zion Logue out of practice squad call-ups. Jordan Phillips is out of practice squad call-ups. You still have 2 more practice squad call-ups for Phil Mathis, formerly of the Alabama Crimson Tide day 2 pick, sitting on the practice squad there. Daquan Jones, I don't know. It's been 2 weeks since Sean McDermott said, and I quote, he popped his calf. So to me, that's a 3, 4, 5 week injury. Sean McDermott said today, day to day, I don't think we see Daquan Jones for the next couple of weeks. Then you have the situation with TJ Sanders, who got his knee scoped weeks ago, but he hasn't had his practice squad window reopened yet. So really, you're looking, I think, at the Buffalo Bills probably having to elevate Zion Logue and Jordan Phillips to the 53-man roster this week. Probably going to put Ed Oliver on IR. I think they have another roster spot available, but they can always cut Brandon Codrington, who they just don't seem to want to play anymore. So there are options for the Buffalo Bills on the roster to sort of get by until TJ Sanders and Jordan Phillips get back. But I think you also got to assess the trade market here. Like, I think with the trade deadline a week away, my initial thought was, wide receiver, obviously we've had that conversation, and then safety. I kind of liked what we saw with that rotation of Jordan Poyer and Jordan Hancock in this game, letting Jordan Hancock play the deep safety spot, let Jordan Poyer play the line of scrimmage stuff. And then you obviously had Cole Bishop, who I think is getting better week in and week out. But you look at the defensive tackles who might be available at the trade deadline. I went through and looked at like all the worst teams in football and seeing like who are some veteran guys or some guys in the last year contracts that they might be able to part with. Malik Collins from the Browns is top of my list. He's a penetrator. He's someone who could fill that Ed Oliver role. Maybe the Browns are looking to deal him at the deadline since their season's over. Calais Campbell can play all 4 spots on the D line. He's a veteran. He's got that Super Bowl experience. The Cardinals are pretty much done. Maybe they're looking to part ways with Calais Campbell. Sebastian Joseph Day from the Titans. He's a solid rotational veteran. The Bills, it seems like we've had interest in him for years. I think they actually had him in for a free agent visit last year or the year previous, but he ended up signing elsewhere, and he's with the Titans now. You got Devin Godshaw with the Saints and Harrison Phillips with the Jets. So I think the Buffalo Bills could entertain making a trade, and Sean McDermott even kind of hinted at that today, where he said, I'm going to have to talk with Brandon Beane, and we're going to have to assess what we're doing here with the 53-man roster. Now, that could have just mean practice squad elevations, but that also could mean maybe pivoting where they were heading at the trade deadline.
I mean, as it stands right now, it's going to have to be Jordan Phillips and Zion Logue as the second wave, unless you do something else, right, in the immediate short term. And going into that game against Kansas City next week against, Pacheco and Kareem Hunt, and what the Chiefs like to do with that running game, how creative they are with that. It's going to be a tall order, obviously. And I don't think that Brandon Beane and Sean McDermott would necessarily want to have that, because then not only that, then you're like depleting your reserves as well. Like you're going to have to add to the interior one way or another, right? And so timelines obviously matter. Oliver's going to be out for an extended period of time. It certainly seems like Daquan and TJ Sanders aren't really close to returning. So you don't really have too many options here if you're the Buffalo Bills, other than to go out and either sign someone to your practice squad after you elevate Zion Logue and Jordan Phillips, or make a trade. The easy way out would be to sign someone to your practice squad, but what are you going to find out there right now? Or who on someone else's practice squad are you going to sign to your active roster over Zion Logue or Jordan Phillips? Probably nobody that they would want to do that to right now. So yeah, it's going to be tough. The silver lining here is that Deion Walker's been playing great and getting tons and tons of reps as a rookie. And they get Ogunjobi, who's fresh, right? And hasn't played and is fresh at least, and hasn't gone through the grind of a ton of practice and games so far. So look, from that standpoint, you try to look at it silver lining, and that's what it is. But really bad luck for the Bills. And it seems like their bad luck on the injury front has really been on the defensive side of the ball the last few years.
Yeah, and it seems like too, once you get Daquan Jones back, the Bills have a decision to make. And I think Daquan Jones is sort of the deciding factor, because to me, Deion Walker is your starting 1 tech right now. Larry Ogunjobi by default is your starting 3 tech right now. When Ed Oliver was out last time, they kicked Daquan Jones over to 3 tech, and he played quite well. But if you're the Buffalo Bills, are you going to go Deion Walker as your first rotation 1 tech, Daquan Jones as your second rotation 1 tech? If you do that, it is going to be Larry Ogunjobi and Jordan Phillips as your 2-3 techs. Or you could find yourself in a situation where you decide to kick Daquan Jones over to 3 tech, and now you have Deion Walker and probably Zion Logue as your backup 1 tech. And that leaves Jordan Phillips sticking on the practice squad. And even a guy like Jordan Phillips, like, you can bring him onto the active roster for a couple weeks, cut him. He doesn't have to go through waivers. He's already said he never wants to play for anyone else again except for the Buffalo Bills. So you can cut him, waive him whenever you want. Obviously, there's probably going to be some salary cap ramifications to it, even though it's minimal, but the Bills are pretty tight up against the cap. You could probably just release him on the regular and send him back down to the practice squad whenever you need him. So I don't think call-ups are a concern with Jordan Phillips, but I don't know the salary cap ramifications of all of that. But the Bills got some options, not the greatest options in the world, but hopefully the Buffalo Bills can get by, and these edge rushers that we're going to talk about later in the show can continue to step up the way they're stepping up and really make life easier for these defensive tackles. All right. We're finally going to get to it. The thing that we typically try to lead the show off with, but always end up doing about 10 or so minutes into the show, our one big thing. So there's a million things to talk about after this game. We've already talked about defensive tackle and gotten into that and gotten into the weeds of the trade deadline coming up and all those things. So Dave, when you sat down and thought about this game and started writing down your show notes and things like that, what is the one big thing that stuck out to you? And everyone in the comment section, what's the one big takeaway you have from this football game?
Yeah, there's a lot of things you could go with. You could go with like Sean McDermott calling the defense, the 7 sacks the defense have had. But look, I'm going with the one big thing, and he's been the one big thing leading this offense all year. I've used him as a take me higher player probably at least half the times in our pregame shows this far, and that is James Cook in the running game. James Cook, second in the NFL in rushing yards with the bye week, by the way, as well. Already had his bye week. First in the NFL, James Cook at 107.6 rushing yards per game. That is better than Jonathan Taylor. That is better than Christian McCaffrey. That is better than all of these other running backs in the league as far as a yards per game basis. 107.6. He's averaging a ridiculous 6.0 yards per carry this year, and obviously led the way yesterday on a day where the passing attack really took a back seat to James Cook and those outside toss plays and some of those inside zone once they kind of adjusted for that. And on his way to 216 rushing yards. They said it was the most rushing yards by a Bill in a game since the 1970s and O.J. Simpson. So James Cook, to me, obviously during the bye week, the Bills wanted to make sure that that was a focus. It was strength on strength in this game. Carolina Panthers coming in as one of the better run defenses in the NFL. It did not matter. The lanes were open. He was getting to the outside. He was reading his blocks well. He was one step ahead of the defense as well. on his cuts. And to me, it's James Cook, already at almost 800 rushing yards on the season. Like I said, 7 rushing TDs already, only 12 receptions on the season. So he's a little behind pace on that. But he did all this, by the way, on only playing 44% of the snaps. So for me, the one big thing is when the passing game seemingly been out of sync, and we're going to talk about wide receivers and the trade deadline and all that, that Bills running game and that Bills offensive line had a scare there with Osiris Torrance for a bit, and some weird shuffling going around. But James Cook, man, my one big thing, he is the Bills MVP right now over Josh Allen. I don't really see how you can make an argument against that right now for this Buffalo Bills team.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. Like, it was absolutely crazy. I love the way the offense adjusted in this game too. Like, they knew Derek Brown was in the middle of that Carolina Panthers defense. They're like, all right, we're just going to attack the edges. And that sort of brings me to my one big thing, and that's Sean McDermott and some of the adjustments that he made over the bye week. I really think that Sean McDermott was feeling a sense of pressure and a sense of urgency during this bye week. Some of the comments that he made before the game and some of his pre-week conversations with the media, talking about how he put in that extra work during the bye week and went back and watched a lot of film, and how his wife was like, dude, you need to go to the office, just get out of here. Because like he was like pissing his wife off with just like maybe how on edge or what he was, or like how anxious he looked. Like, it seemed like Sean McDermott was like chomping at the bit to get back out there on the football field and prove what this team is and can be. And what do you see from Sean McDermott after the bye? He's now 9-0 after the bye, best record of any head coach, I think, in the history of the league after the bye week. But at least in terms of wins before a loss, he's never lost. So, what did you see from the Buffalo Bills this week? A team that showed visible post-bye week adjustments. They added speed to the defense. They got creative on defense. There was lineup changes. Didn't fire Bobby Babich over the bye week like I had advocated for, and a lot of Bills fans had advocated for, but it sure as heck looked like Sean McDermott was the one calling plays on Sunday,
Had the
Bobby
sheet.
Babich. And then in the post game, he told the media, "Oh, I'm calling plays with Bobby Babich." Like, no, Sean, you're calling the plays. Let's call a spade here. Bobby Babich has been demoted. It looks like Sean McDermott is the play caller, and hopefully that stays, because that defense literally showed up. They had some new contributors, Michael Hoyt, who was awesome, Larry Ogunjobi,
he
who
could
was
be
solid.
an option inside as well, by the way, on certain situations. So
100%. You saw Maxwell Hairston come in, didn't get targeted, but played like a solid just under 50% of the snaps, and he looked good, and he shadowed who he was supposed to shadow and did the things he needed to do. Jordan Hancock came in, center fielded, came in for those center fielding situations on down and distances, had a really nice tackle on Rico Dowdle that a couple of weeks ago probably would have been a touchdown if it was Bijan Robinson, the way the Bill safeties were tackling. So the new contributors contributed in their first weeks. You saw scheme tweaks this week, more man coverage on third downs. 6 of their first 8 third downs, they played man coverage. They were tighter in their zones. They were faster in their rotations. They had 7 sacks, 3 turnovers. They allowed 9 points, only 244 total yards. They were being really creative with Michael Hoyt and like mugging the A gap and blitzing him from the middle. Those things that you saw them try to do with a guy like Javon Solomon. So Sean McDermott responded, and you could tell that Sean McDermott was feeling some pressure over that bye week. And this was his answer on offense. He told Joe Brady, hey, go establish an identity. Obviously the passing game still got some issues, but they adjusted to what they felt like the Carolina Panthers did best from a standpoint of Derek Brown, and they ran around him instead of trying to run through him. There was less penalties. There was no turnovers. Special teams probably had their best outing of the season, even though they still have no real juice in the return game. So to me, my one big thing is Sean McDermott. Like, this football team responded, and a lot of the issues that we saw pre-bye week outside of the passing game and down the field, which we'll get to, but they were pretty much without Dalton Kincaid, who clearly once the game got in hand, they're like, get out of here, and had an ice pack on his knee when he was already dealing with an oblique injury. So doesn't look too good for Dalton Kincaid the next couple of weeks. He still might be slow coming back from an injury and possibly a new injury. And then without Josh Palmer. So like, again, we're going to talk trade line again in a little bit here. The Buffalo Bills need to add receiver, quite frankly. Like, they need to. They need another body there at the wide receiver position. But controlling what they could control right now, the Buffalo Bills responded. Yes, it's just the Carolina Panthers, right? And we'll see what happens next week against Kansas City. But you've got to respect and you got to give a tip of your cap to a team that looked completely different yesterday than they did the 2 weeks previous to the bye week.
Yeah, absolutely. And Sean McDermott being your one big thing makes a lot of sense. And especially, I mean, very obvious that he was calling the plays on the defense, 7 sacks, and that team showed up. And it's just, it's really funny, really, about how things really change week to week. And it's like sometimes so hard to look at the big picture in the NFL. Like 3 weeks ago, we were talking about how this defense was just done, right? It was absolutely done. And we're talking about this now, Sean McDermott, with what this defense did without Ed Oliver for a majority of the game, and no Terrell Bernard too, by the way, health and active, but didn't play. So there in case of emergency, as was reported. So that was without Terrell Bernard and without Ed Oliver for most of the game. So great job by Sean McDermott, obviously coming in to a former employer, wanted to show out there. And it didn't hurt that it was basically a kind of a home game for the Bills there too.
All right, we're going to get into all of our biggest takeaways from the offense, all of our biggest takeaways from the defense. But first, a quick word here from our sponsor. This episode is brought to you by Picasso's Pizza. With 4 convenient locations in Williamsville, West Seneca, Lancaster, and Blaisdell, Picasso's Pizza has been serving Buffalo's best pizza since 1980. Whether you're local or across the country, you can enjoy their delicious pizza delivered fresh to your door. Visit picassospizza.net to place your order today. Once again, that is picassospizza.net. All right, let's talk offense here. Even though the defense deserves its flowers, this is just the way I wrote my notes. As we do every week. So let's start with the positive takeaways from the offense, and then we'll get into some of the negative takeaways. The positive takeaways, obviously, the overall output of the offense, 40 points, 23 first downs in total in the game, 7 for 12 on third down, 410 yards in total. They had 7 yards per play, 0 turnovers, right? Complimentary football was played in this game. James Cook, he led the charge with 19 carries for 216 yards and 2 touchdowns. He had 12 rushing first downs, most yards in a game for a Bills running back since O.J. Simpson in 1976. What a day for James Cook. I know you talked about it at the top of the show, but I just kept thinking to myself, man, the way we're running the ball and the difference between the way James Cook looks when he is out there and the way Ty Johnson and Ray Davis look like they are when they're out there.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I get that it won't happen. I get that this is probably an overreaction, but like there just doesn't seem to be any juice with Ray Davis and Ty Johnson. The way that offensive line is blocking their ass off, you'd think those two would be able to step in there and make plays. And I just don't see it. Like, I know Ty Johnson does the dirty work in pass blocking. I know a lot of times when Ray Davis is the game is over. So the blocking is different, but I almost want to give Frank Gore Jr. a shot. Like, I almost do. And that's like, maybe that's the Madden in me. Maybe that's the fan in me, not the logic in me. But like, I'm sick and tired of watching all that juice with James Cook and then him leave the field and the running game just completely shit its pants the second he steps off the field.
Yeah, 11.4 yards per carry for James Cook. That's insane in the NFL, by the way. Like, 11.4 yards per carry and averaging 6 yards per carry on the season. It's a first down play, an easy 7, an easy 8 yards. Like, it's so smooth with him, and he can just get to the edge so easily, and he's just locked in instinctually too. Like he knows where his blockers are going to be. He knows exactly when to cut back against the grain. He knew on those toss plays whether to cut it back up inside or whether to head towards the boundary. He's just got such a good feel for where the extra yards are right now. And then, as you can see, he at any time can break a big one if he gets behind the second level. And so, look, I mean, yeah, I think the Bills, like, if you want to start talking about kind of like beyond 2025, and I know we're talking about this game, like, if they're going to kind of want to continue on this trend on being such a dominant rushing team, you might want to get like a secondary running back that can actually, I'm not saying it's got to be like a a Gibbs and Montgomery situation where you put that much into the position, but it would be nice to have a little bit of a 1-2 punch like that.
Yeah, I agree that you don't want to invest too much. I don't want to see them use like a day 2 pick on a running back again. Like that's just something I never really want to see until James Cook is gone. I don't want to see them spend like an exorbitant amount of money, but at least bring in some competition this offseason. Like it just seems like it was fait accompli from the start of training camp. These are our 3 running backs. Here's our practice squad running back. If he clears waivers, there is no competition. Like and I was kind of okay with that because of the way those 2 running backs had performed last year, but they are not performing this year for whatever reason. So they have the rest of the season to sort of like, I guess, flush it out and figure out what they have in those 2 guys. I just wish they would give James Cook more opportunities on third down. Again, it just seems like third down, James Cook comes off the field. I remember one third down where James Cook was on the field. I don't even care if you bring in 2 running backs, like keep Ty Johnson on the field and have James Cook like in the slot. Like, it just, I still feel like there's some meat on the bone there. Like people say you don't want to overwork James Cook. I really don't think we are. I really don't.
We're not. I mean, look, 44%. Like if I had told you he had 216 rushing yards at the end of the game, you would have thought he would have played like 70-80% of the snaps.
I
he
know,
only played 44% of the snaps. Now, granted, he had averaged 11.4 yards a carry. No receptions either. So it's like I mentioned at the top, like only 12 receptions on the season for him. Like you said, coming off the field on third downs as well. So he's not really, unless they're throwing on first down and he's in there, he's not really getting a lot of action in the passing game, and he's behind pace right now. He's actually on pace for his fewest receptions since his rookie season, but he's also on pace for his most rushing yards in his career. So it's like you're gonna take the good with the bad there, and like the Bills just really haven't gotten the running backs involved in the passing game this year as much as they have in the past, and so that's not just even about James Cook. That's the whole group, even Ty Johnson.
It's so weird just looking the way the NFL is trending and the way a lot of teams find success just dumping the ball after the running back. Why the Bills just refuse to do it, I don't know. Someone said in the comment section, like hats off to Reggie Gilliam. Where is it? O-line, Jackson Hawes, Reggie Gilliam. Blocking was amazing, says Bills Cam. That was next in my notes, right? Obviously, the offensive line deserves their flowers. I think he had someone posted the stat a second ago. Cook had 156 yards before contact. That speaks to how well the offensive line was playing. You saw a ton of Reggie Gilliam. You saw a ton of Jackson Hawes. Absolute tone setters. Like I think Dalton Kincaid was playing hurt. The second the Bills realized they could sit Dalton Kincaid, I think they sat Dalton Kincaid for the most part. His snap count was cratered compared to his other games. I think that was health related. But Gilliam, like we said, all last year we were saying, get Reggie Gilliam on the field more, especially as the season progressed. We're like, we run the ball best with Reggie Gilliam's out there. Just get Reggie Gilliam out there more. The Bills finally listened and just had Reggie Gilliam out there so much in this game. I thought he deserved way more than a 1-year extension when they extended him this offseason. I feel like that's a guy you can lock up for a couple of more years. Our offensive line was dominating. Tyrell Shavers and even Curtis Samuel were getting after it in the run game on those edges and stuff. So kudos to the whole unit, right? It's not just the running back, even though the running back is very good. There's a lot of guys who go into the success of this running game.
And that culminates in the Bills are the number 1 rushing offense in the NFL at 164 yards per game. That's almost 20 yards better than the second best team in the NFL, which is the Commanders, who are playing tonight. So the Bills will finish week 8 as the number 1 rushing offense team in the NFL by a decently wide margin at over 160 yards per game. And that's with Josh Allen on pace for his lowest rushing yard totals since 2020. So it's not even like that rushing yards per game number is really getting buoyed that much by Josh Allen. It's largely James Cook. Obviously, Allen is part of that too, but that offensive line is blocking their asses off, and the whole group of them deserve credit.
In the passing game, I thought Khalil Shakir was a positive. I said the pregame show, I would love to see the Buffalo Bills pepper him with 10 plus targets a game, not just because I think he's like a 10 plus target a game guy, but just make the defense feel like they got to cover somebody, and it should open things up for other people. So he ended up getting 7 targets in this game, caught 6 of them, had 88 yards and a touchdown. Obviously, he's the yak god at this point behind just Jamar Chase, it seems like. So Khalil Shakir is just that guy. keep feeding him. Like, none of your other receivers, especially with Josh Palmer out and Dalton Kincaid dinged, like, give this guy 10 targets a game, 10, 12 targets a game. Treat him like you did early Cole Beasley. Treat him like the Patriots did, like Edelman and Welker. Just get the ball in this dude's hands and let him make magic happen. The Buffalo Bills need to continue. I think they did a good job in this game. I think they could do even better. Continue to get the ball into the hands of Khalil Shakir and let him do his thing.
7 of Josh Allen's 19 targets went to Khalil Shakir in this game. The Bills really leaning into that horizontal passing game early in this one, getting the ball out to Shakir on these tunnel screens and just letting him work after the catch. And, they kept at it, right? The first couple, marginal gains, but then once they kind of got it going, they had the running game going with James Cook, like those marginal gains turned into huge yak opportunities. And that guy just can do so much after the catch. And I think the Bills really trying to manufacture a little bit of a passing game, as hard as that is to hear, like manufacturing that passing game a little bit by just getting it into Shakir's hands and letting him work after the catch in the absence of Palmer, Kincaid not healthy and not playing. And you're really not getting a ton from the other receivers in the passing game. Like, you just got to let that guy do what he does best, and that's work with the ball in his hands after the catch. And obviously it paid off with the huge touchdown there at the beginning of the second half.
On the negative takeaway side, clearly the downfield passing game is still a little clunky. Josh Allen was 12 of 19 in the game for 163 yards and a touchdown. He did have 3 total touchdowns on the day because he added 2 rushing touchdowns, but the rhythm, the spacing, the answers for certain things, still a struggle. Like, it definitely, you can't sit back and be like, oh, we fixed it. Oh, it looks like it's getting better. None of those things are true. Now, I still think Josh Allen had a really pretty decent day outside of a couple of misses here or there. All things considered, with how well the run game was going, he didn't really need to do much, but limited wide receiver separation and options just continue to be a problem. Josh Allen, he obviously missed Elijah Moore on that one easy one. Then a lot of people were like, what's wrong with Josh? What's wrong with Josh? And I'm just like, when your passing game's out of rhythm, like, because there was a point where his completion percentage wasn't good. He had a lot of completions late. There was a point where he was like at 50% or something.
I think he was 6 for 13 at one point.
Yeah, like
for like 66 yards.
Yeah, like under 50%. Like, it just, I feel like sometimes, like, when you're just out of a rhythm and it's not connecting, like sometimes you just miss passes like that. Like, people are like, what's wrong with you? Like, I don't think there's anything wrong with him. I just think this whole offense is just out of passing offense. It's just out of sync, out of rhythm. Like, I'm not giving him a pass for it. You got to make that, but it's just not something that concerns me. I don't think he's broken. Obviously there was one time where there was a free runner. Greg Olsen was like, that was on Dion. Other people are like, no, it's on Josh. You got to know the free rusher's coming, etc. So there was that issue. There was the legal formation, which wiped out the first down in the red zone, which maybe could have ended in a touchdown instead of a field goal. And we could have gotten up earlier, sooner. So there was a number of issues still with this passing offense and this offense in general. Allen still looks uncomfortable in structure, like overthinking his progressions, inconsistent footwork compared to what you're used to seeing. Greg Olsen was like, he's a shotgun quarterback that they're forcing under center. I agree with that to an extent. Do I think if Josh Allen was under shotgun all game and the Bills were still running the Brian Daboll offense, would Josh Allen was throwing the ball 50 times, would he look a lot better as a passer? Like, I think he would. But that's just not how this offense is structured. And that doesn't mean that's a bad thing, right? Like, you want to have a dominant running game like you see from James Cook in this game. Like, and sometimes there's a little give and take. And in order to have that dominant running game, you got to take some of the weapons away from the boundary, or you can't be in shotgun all the time and this and that and all that. If you want to be a diverse offense that can do multiple things, it's going to take away from being able to do one thing insanely great. So to me, I agree with what Greg Olsen's saying, but also, like, I understand why the Buffalo Bills are doing what they're doing. I want Josh Allen under center. I want him doing that play action stuff. He needs to figure it out, and the offense needs to figure it out in the passing game to go along with and complement the running game. You can't just be in shotgun the whole time like we were with Brian Daboll back in the game. But I feel like the lack of confidence in structure is almost carrying out of structure a little bit. I don't know if he's just doesn't have the same rapport with some of these receivers like he did, like a guy like Mac Hollins or or what he did Stephon Diggs years ago, or what it is, but like Gabe Davis even years ago. But it just seems like when Josh rolls out of the pocket this year, he's not making the magic happen like he used to. Even the guys like Ty Johnson, some of those magic plays that he can make out of structure, just not there either. So maybe I think maybe the in structure lack of confidence is leading to some lack of confidence or something out of structure as well. What are your thoughts on the Bills passing game?
Yeah, I like a lot of what you said there. I think it's tough when you look at some of these other teams in the AFC. And you're watching the Chiefs play tonight. They only have 7 points at halftime, but they get Rashee Rice back. They have Xavier Worthy, Travis Kelce, Hollywood Brown. Like they have a lot of weapons, and you're looking at what Josh is working with right now, and he had no Dalton Kincaid pretty much for most of that game. One of his best longer throws in that game was to Dalton Kincaid early in the game. And then obviously he came out. You're really not getting a ton from Keon Coleman as far as like his statistics. We use this term on the show a lot. They're hollow statistics for Keon Coleman right now. He's second on the team in targets. He's second on the team in receptions. But does it feel like he's made a huge impact on the outcomes of games? Maybe not so much, right? He's got the 2 touchdowns, but you needed more from him.
He hasn't made like a legitimate impact on the game in a make or break way since week 1.
Right. So, and he's second on the team in targets and catches behind Shakir. So outside of Shakir, you're really kind of limited, especially yesterday. If we're talking this game, right? You had no Josh Palmer. You had no Dalton Kincaid essentially for the entire game. Shakir was the passing offense outside. Coleman had 3 catches for 30 yards. So I get it. They only threw it 19 times, but when you if you want to have not just a diverse running game, whether that's running at a shotgun or not, but a diverse offense in general, yeah, like you gotta get healthy. You got to get Josh Palmer back, and like, yeah, I can understand why a lot of fans are clamoring for the Bills to make a move at wide receiver for the trade deadline, because it does appear like Dalton Kincaid's maybe a little more banged up than we thought, right? Obviously came out of the bye week and was still on the injury report every single day of the week, even though he did play. And Josh Palmer is going to be out probably for a couple more weeks. So it's tough, right? When you look around again, Patriots with Boutte and Diggs and Hunter Henry. And then you look at some of these other teams that are kind of near. The Chargers have been getting good contributions from Gadsden, and Keenan Allen's back with them, and Ladd McConkey obviously was a draft favorite from a lot of it's tough to kind of see. And even like the Denver Broncos with Troy Franklin and Cortland Sutton, like they're 5-2 and they have weapons. Marvin Mims, like these teams all have better weapons than the Buffalo Bills right now. So they're really leaning on the running game right now. Again, number 1 in the NFL in yards per game. And that's kind of become, they talk about like, we're still not sure of our identity. Like that's got to be your identity right now, because the passing offense, as painful as it is to say, is like, it's not their bread and butter right now.
Yeah. A lot of great comments coming in. I'm going to get to some of them. No Bones About It says, I don't put it all on the receivers. Josh hasn't been great. John Robert comes in and says, Josh said, I sucked in the first half. I'm not trying to make excuses for Josh Allen. I'm just trying to say, like, there are people on social media. I don't know how much people are on social media. I'm on it way more than I should be. There are people on social media who are like, is he doing too many commercials? Is his confidence broken? Did his marriage kill his love for the game? What's wrong with Josh? Like, it's like people are like, he sucks now. I'm like, he's had a couple of bad games, and still, like, if you look at it from the perspective of a National Football League in totality, even his bad games are still above average quarterback play compared to the rest of the league. Like, he's still playing pretty solid quarterbacking. Can he be better? Yes. By his own admission, he can be better. No one's sitting here and saying like Josh Allen can't be better, right? Josh Allen can be better, but the Bills can also make his life easier for him as well. Yeah. Claude Puig comes in and says he had an open Keon Coleman for a touchdown. There was that one where I even, without looking at the all 22, saw Keon Coleman streaking down the field on that Jackson Haas dump off. I thought to myself, like, he must be open down the field the way he was streaking. He chose for the dump off, and Claude Puig comes in and says, I'm pretty sure he thought to himself, why take the risk? How much of this is being coached into him not to throw the ball down the field? We don't know. We're not behind the scenes. We don't have, we really don't have any knowledge of that. No Bones About It comes back and says Josh is currently the second best quarterback in the AFC. There's no denying that right now from a statistical standpoint. Drake May is an MVP candidate and Josh Allen is not. Like, if anyone wants to tell you Josh Allen's an MVP candidate, they're just wrong at this point. Like, he has not played like an MVP caliber quarterback. He's still played good quarterback play, in my opinion. He hasn't played MVP quarterback play. Drake May has. No bones about it. Comes in and says Drake May has looked like the better passer thus far, and his receivers aren't that good either. I would argue that's because the Patriots throw it a ton more than we do because they can't run the ball. So Drake May gets to sit in shotgun, and he gets to find his rhythm in a way that maybe Josh doesn't, because the Buffalo Bills are two-dimensional, whereas the Patriots are one-dimensional. So I think there's nuance and layers to all of this. I think Drake May, I love Drake May. I was a Drake May truther in the pre-draft process. Anyone who watches this show knows it. When we were talking draft, I said, if there's any quarterback who could be the next Josh Allen, like, this is it, right? He's looking like East Coast Justin Herbert right now. He looks really good. I think he's going to come back to earth a little bit. I don't think he's going to play like this all season. I think teams are going to adjust over the course of the season. You're going to see some of those numbers come down, and I think Josh is going to get better. And at some point, they're going to be equals again in terms of the 2025 season. And I think in totality, it's going to take Drake May a little bit for him to earn the respect to say he is a better, legit, like straight up quarterback than Josh Allen. So to me, there's just a lot of nuance, a lot of layers. I think we need to add at this position. Like, and I'll say it again, right? Like, I get what the Buffalo Bills were doing, trying to have this possession offense and this and that. And Keon Coleman wasn't him. Like, he's not. He's a fourth receiver. Maybe someday he can develop into more than that. But right now, he's a wide receiver 4. He should be treated like Gabe Davis's rookie year. He shouldn't be a guy who is the leading snap getter for the Buffalo Bills at wide receiver. He just shouldn't be. So to me, the Buffalo Bills need to add. I mean, they're now in the top 10 in teams that face man-to-man defense. Shows how little respect that the defenses have for our wide receivers. And they're seeing a lot of single high safety looks in what is now a 2 deep shot league. So again, that's not because people aren't afraid that Josh Allen can't make those throws. Josh Allen makes half the deep throws he makes. Like, we just don't throw a lot of them. He's pretty good. He's pretty efficient compared to the rest of the league in downfield throws. We just don't make a lot of them. And I think a lot of that has to do with the personnel that we have. So to me, like, you got to make a move. I'm going to go back on my phone here, and I made a list of guys the Buffalo Bills should consider pursuing at the deadline. The top of the list is obviously if Brian Thomas Jr. or Chris Olave are available, trade a first round pick for them. I don't care. Trade a first round pick for them if they are available. Aaron Quinn said, hey, call Green Bay and ask him about Christian Watson. I don't think Christian Watson will be available, but if he was, make that call. See what you can do. To me, the 2 names that make the most sense are Rashid Shaheed. Rumor is you could have him for a 3rd. I would love if the Buffalo Bills dealt like a 3rd and a future 5th. Somebody proposed this trade to me on social media for Rashid Shaheed and Devin Godshaw. You had a defensive tackle, you had a wide receiver, but to me, Shaheed's the guy. And people are like, he's a gadget guy. The Bills won't use him right. They're just going to, throw him the ball behind. Stop it. Like, Rashid Shaheed is a legit downfield burner. He's got gravity and weight down the field, and he will make defenders do things even when covering him that is going to open things up for other people. He is a legit downfield threat. He is a all pro return man. There are so many boxes that he checks, and he can do other things other than just run fast down the field. Like, he's a legit receiver. Is he a 1 receiver at his size? No, but you pair him and Palmer on the boundary. You got Keon Coleman as your 4 working in, and you got Khalil Shakir on the slot. That looks pretty damn good to me. And I would take that.
Yeah, I mean, he's not a gadget guy, but the question would remain is, would the Bills utilize him properly?
Yeah, I think I think they would. Like, the Bills haven't had a receiver with that kind of speed in, I don't know, since Lee Evans.
Yeah,
like, when's the last time the Bills had a downfield burn? Like, look, when's the last time the Bills had a legit downfield burner? Percy Harvin?
Marquise Goodwin?
I think Percy Harvin, like a boundary. Like, Goodwin was always doing that stuff from the slot. Like, Percy Harvin could get downfield.
Yeah.
Sammy Watkins, I guess, could get downfield in the background.
Yeah,
but like, and then the second one is like, I don't know if the Giants are with Cam Scadaboo's ankle literally facing the other direction, like his foot, like, poor guy. Damn. Maybe the Giants are selling, and I would take Darius Slayton. People are like, Darius Slayton's too much like the receivers we have. I don't care. Guess what? He's got something everyone else doesn't. He can get the F down the field. Like,
yeah, I like
so if you want to make it there, if you want to give me Darius Slayton on one boundary, you want to give me Josh Palmer when he's healthy on the other boundary with Keon Coleman working in and Khalil Shakir in the slot, I'll freaking take it. I just need one guy who can move everyone else down the depth chart. Like, or just take some of the pressure. Someone who has some gravity, has some weight that defenders have to respect when they're running a go route down the field. Just give me one of those guys. And to me, Shaheed and Slayton are the two that make the most sense.
Yeah, no, I like Shaheed's the most popular name I've seen. Slayton, I think, is a under the radar name that makes a lot of sense. We obviously know there's a connection there between the two organizations. So, he's been with that Giants team for a couple of years, and I don't know, like Neighbors is out for the season. Like, who are they going to have left to throw the ball to besides Wendell Robinson? So I don't know. The Giants are slim. Their season's pretty much over anyway, but
that's my only thought is like their season's over. So maybe they don't care and they'll just deal them. But all right. There's always Gabe Davis too. Still hasn't been activated off the
I do think that he will get activated at some point.
All these guys are going to end up playing. I think that we signed to the practice squad as a break glass in case of emergency guys, and the emergencies are rolling in. Yes. All right, let's transition now to the defense, where there's really no negative things to talk about. I have one negative thing on my list of takeaways. Let's start with the positives for this defense. The run defense answered the call. Carolina, who's one of the better running teams in the league. Rico Dowdell was everyone's fantasy favorite and taking the league by storm. Carolina had 28 carries for 114 yards. That's 4.1 yards per carry. I don't even remember their touchdown. Was their touchdown passing or running? I don't even remember.
I thought it was running, but
I don't remember. I honestly do not remember who scored.
Chuba ran it in.
Chuba ran it in. All right, so they had a rushing touchdown as well. But honestly, for the most part, when the game counted, Carolina was having a tough go of it, establishing a ground game. There were splash plays everywhere for this Buffalo Bills defense. 7 sacks, 3 takeaways, including AJ Epinessa's interception. Michael Hoyt was all over. He had a strip sack. He had sacks from Ed Oliver, Greg Rousseau, Jordan Phillips, Joey Bosa, Michael Hoyt, Deion Walker, AJ Epinesa. They put the clamps down on third down. They allowed 9 points. Carolina went 4 for 11 on third down, 244 total yards. I know they had an old man back there at quarterback, and he made a lot of mistakes and turned the ball over a ton. But kudos to this defense, right? You don't get to pick who you play against. They showed up and they did their business, and they looked rejuvenated with some of these new pieces that we're going to talk about. But what are your initial thoughts on this defense yesterday?
Thought the pressure was there all day, even on times where they didn't get to Dalton. Like, they got some good pressure. And look, Dalton, he's been around. He's had a good career, and he knows where his reads are going to be. He made some good throws to Tet McMillan, who I think is going to be a star for them. He's maybe their best player, honestly. And Dalton made some throws, but they were harassing him all day. I thought the Bills did a much better job tackling. The tackling was way improved compared to
Jordan Hancock, baby.
Well, and that's what I'm going to kind of get to is the fact that we got some juice a little bit with the back end there with Jordan Hancock and some speed there. And I like that the Bills were like, you know what? Yeah. Granted, they didn't really have a choice, but
I am shocked that they played. I am shocked that they both played. I am shocked. We kind of look at it from a fan perspective and we're like, put Maxwell Hairston in. We don't care that he's only been back a week. Put Jordan Hancock in. We don't care that he's only been here half a year and was a middle round draft. Like, we as fans are like, we don't care. Do it. And the Bills never do. They're always very cautious. Like, no, we'll throw Dane Jackson out there. No, we'll throw Trey. Like, the Bills, that goes to show you how bad Trey White has been. Like, the Bills were like, we don't care. Maxwell Hairston, you're getting out there. That goes to show you how bad the safety play has been. The Bills were like, we don't care. Like, Jordan Hancock, go out there. And I like that they had a plan for him. Like, obviously there really wasn't I don't want to say there was a plan for Maxwell Hairston, but it seemed like a lot of the man coverage situations, they wanted to get Maxwell Hairston in there. It seemed like his was just like a preset rotation, but I absolutely loved the plan for Jordan Hancock. It was like, hey, when we're going to keep our safeties around the line of scrimmage, it's Jordan Poyer and it's Taylor and it's Cole Bishop. But when we know it's third and down and distance and third and long, and we need a guy to center field, we're going to put Jordan Hancock out there. I don't think that's too bad of a tell. Like, teams are going to do whatever they're going to do on third and long anyway. So to me, that was great to add sort of that center fielding option, because what have we been talking about for since Micah Hyde's career here was essentially done? Where's that center fielder? Like, where's that guy? It was a couple of years ago with, I'm always blanking on this guy's name now, but the guy from out of USC who went to Houston, and last year with Xavier Watts. Like, we've just been advocating for a center fielder forever, and the Bills just have not seemed to care or want that center fielder. So to have Jordan Hancock go out there and do that, that was fun to watch, and I like that rotation. Like,
yeah,
I probably would have said safety was one of the number one trade options now, but I might have transitioned that to IDL with the way that rotation worked and the way Cole Bishop's getting a lot better.
I mean, look, you can kind of see maybe now there's a glimmer of hope that this Cole Bishop and Jordan Hancock tandem could maybe be the safety group of the future, and it could be a story where it's like not necessarily like a Hyde Poyer situation, but it's like, hey, you got a kind of a later round draft pick, a second round draft pick, guys that are kind of like finding their way and learning together, and you have Jordan Poyer there as well, who played solidly and kind of can mentor, right? As we've said before. And like, I think, to be honest with you, that I was really happy with what I saw from Jordan Hancock. And also, like you said, Rico Dowdle and Chuba Hubbard, like that Carolina team's been running really well. The tackling, the touchdown saving tackle on the Dowdle run that the Bills ultimately forced a turnover later on that drive. So you see how important some of those things can be, even when it's a big play for them running the ball. Like, the fact of the matter is, you don't know what's going to happen a play or two after that, and they force a turnover. So that tackle becomes hugely important, and that's the kind of stuff we weren't seeing from Taylor Rapp and in the beginning of the season. So to me, the tackling, Bishop also in certain situations using his leverage properly so that those two guys, him and Poyer, could work in tandem as well. It looks to be improving. And look, I know it's the Panthers, but they are a good running team. They were pretty lifeless for most of the game as an offense, but sometimes you need like a confidence builder. And I think that's what that game was for those guys.
Looking at some other position groups, I'll tell you what, man, the Bills have some decisions to make at linebacker, because I was really hard. I was really hard on Dorian Williams, and I still don't think he's got the coverage chops, but that dude's a dog in run support. He makes a difference in run support. He really does. I think I think the Bills have done a really good job this year, and we're going to get to Taron Johnson when we talk about the negatives. I don't think Taron Johnson needs to be on the field every down anymore. I don't think he's that kind of player anymore. So the Bills have done a really good job mixing in base, and I think Dorian Williams is the perfect guy to mix in with that base. They worked in Joe Andreessen in this game as well.
Yeah, I noticed that Andreessen was getting some run, 15 snaps for him on defense.
Shaq Thompson's been one of their best players this year. Like, just legit on defense. He's been one of their best players. Like, that AJ Epinesa interception, Shaq Thompson was like tapping him on the shoulder. Like, he read it, and he called it and like told the AJ Epinesa, like, here's what's happening. I don't know if Shaq Thompson was ever in the building when Dave Canales was there. He might have been. So maybe he heard something or saw something and knew it, but like, he read that. He snuffed that out, and he let AJ Epinesa know. He's flying all over the field. He's making plays. Like, I hate to say it because you just gave Bernard that extension, but like, quite frankly, Shaq Thompson's playing better ball right now. Like, I don't know what to say. Like, I know Terrell Bernard's your captain. I know you gave him that huge money extension, but like, I don't know how you take Shaq Thompson off the field. Even with Matt Milano, like, I just don't know how you take that juice off the field right now, because he's playing like crazy. So the Bills are going to have some situations to deal with, but also, like, it's not a bad situation to have once Milano and Bernard are back. Like, you feel like you're pretty confident. Like, all right, they got some dudes that can mix and match, and they can play with some things there. They got 4 legit dudes, 5 legit dudes. If you want to call, if you want to talk about Joe Andreessen in there, obviously I think he's limited, just like I think Dorian Williams is limited, but like, they got some dogs, dude. Like, they got the guys who can get after it in the run game, and Andreessen and Williams, and then some guys who can do a little bit of both in Bernard and Milano and Thompson. So the Bills have some decisions to make, but Shaq Thompson, dude, like, game ball to him. Like, kudos to him. He's been balling.
And the Bills will have some interesting decisions to make, I think, especially when Bernard gets fully healthy, because it's like, he's the green dot guy, but obviously Shaq Thompson, he's a vet. He can do that if he needs to be. Would they put Shaq Thompson sort of in that middle spot and maybe put Bernard at the will where Milano or Dorian Williams would normally play, depending on situational football? If it's like passing situations, would it be like Shaq Thompson and Bernard on the field together, depending on how long it is for Milano to come back? And then in running situations, is it Shaq Thompson and Dorian Williams on the field together? So I could also see a situation where, as you mentioned, Taron Johnson potentially struggling. Maybe you have Bernard Williams and Shaq Thompson on the field, and you do a little more 3 linebacker play. And so the Bills have some options. I think let's get Bernard healthy. I'm not sitting here trying to write off Terrell Bernard, who I think is a very good player. But yeah, I think as a whole, the position group is there's certainly some, I don't know what to say, optimism, I guess, for what that group can be the second half of the season if these other guys get healthy.
And then you look at sort of the front of the front seven. Our edge rushers this year, man, I'm so confident in our edge rushers right now. I think Joey Bosa is that perfect sort of like power player on the edge. Is he what he was in his prime? Probably not. But I really like what you get. You get the dumbass stuff every once in a while, like that trip. Yeah, you do.
Yeah,
Like,
that was an obvious trip too.
and you just see him just bashing his head like himself in the head, like bad Joey, bad. But I love Joey Bosa. I love the juice he brings. There was the report that Gregory Rousseau was hurt at the beginning of the year and dealing with an injury, which I just don't have a lot of sympathy for anymore. Like, because just like it seems like all these guys, there's just like, oh, they have so much potential. It's always flash, like, but it's always this or it's always that. Like, so I only had so much sympathy for it, but he was balling yesterday, and he's actually had a couple of good games in a row. So you got Rousseau and Bosa, these 2 power players on the edge. AJ Epinesa has been absolutely freaking phenomenal this year. Not even that pick, just like as a pass rusher, just everything about AJ Epinesa's game this year has flashed. He's getting paid this offseason for GMs that are paying attention. The Buffalo Bills might want to start talking extension with him real soon and lock him up. And then you got Michael Hoyt, who's just literally just a Mack truck, dude, just pushing guys back, forcing strip sacks, mugging the A gaps. Just the guy does everything. Like, he's just an absolute football player as advertised. The 4 of those guys in totality on your edge just got me really excited. That's why it's really disappointing to see Ed Oliver now probably much out for the season unless he gets back for the playoffs, because I feel like with those guys on the edge, man, Ed Oliver could have continued to do some work. 3 sacks in 3 games, 7 TFLs. Like, he was having an all-pro year. I think a lot of that had to do with the influx of Joey Bosa, the way AJ Epinesa is playing, and then obviously in this game, the way Michael Hoyt played as well.
Yeah, and it could be a situation where AJ Epinesa is the 2026 offseason Michael Hoyt, right? Like, where he's like kind of been a rotational guy, but gets paid to be a starter somewhere. And look, he could be one of those players, and the Bills have done this in the past too, where like you get a guy like, remember Kavika Mitchell, the linebacker we signed after he won a Super Bowl with the Giants? Like, he had that really nice run with the Giants that year, and then he was never really that dude for us, but he was like that dude for the Giants that year. Like, that could be AJ Epinesa this year for us on a Super Bowl run, where he is that guy situationally, and then he goes and gets paid because he plays well and hopefully plays well in the playoffs and up to a Super Bowl. Maybe he prices himself out of Buffalo, but we're not going to care if he helps the Bills win a Super Bowl this year.
And then on the interior, Larry Ogunjobi was solid in this game. Jordan Phillips had a sack. He did what he needed to do. But I think obviously the big story on the interior outside of Ed Oliver is Brandon Beane. Draft guys who weigh more than 330 pounds and see what happens. Look at Deion Walker. I mean, he has just completely exceeded expectations. He was a guy that people talked about as like a top 10 draft pick the year before he decided to go back to school. Then he broke his back and had those back issues, and he has those leverage issues, and his stock plummeted. Like, even myself, I was down on him. I had a day 3 grade on him, an early day 3 grade, said, hey, he's just a flyer at this point. But the Buffalo Bills took that swing in the 4th round, day 3, right? And he's living up to like what appears to be like that top 10 potential. He's a guy who is the size of a 1 tech, but he's slimmed down a little bit, and he's been super explosive. I mean, does he make his mistakes here and there? Yes. But I mean, he just absolutely gets after it in the run game. He does what he needs to do, pushing that line of scrimmage, and then he even gets after it as a pass rusher too. So really excited about the future of the interior defensive line room with Ed Oliver on one side and Deion Walker on the other side. We're just not going to be able to see that come to fruition until 2026 now, or at least hopefully, in Santa Clara this year with Ed Oliver. Yeah. But just nothing but great things to say about Deion Walker. What a hit that was for Brandon Beane in this draft class.
Yeah, and he needed a hit right after kind of how things have been going for him, and Max Hairston too, right? Playing his first game the two Kentucky guys making an impact in this game. So that was nice to see. And I get it. A lot of those other guys have been injured, but it was a nice day for Brandon Beane, I think, from the standpoint of Jordan Hancock and Deion Walker and Max Hairston playing well. Because, on the flip side, you have a guy like Keon Coleman, Dwayne Carter, obviously he's injured. And so it's been a bit of a roller coaster for the draft picks the last couple years for this team. So it was, I'm sure, nice to see from Brandon Beane in his old visitor side suite, as opposed to the one he used to sit in Bank of America Stadium.
The only negative takeaway I had was Taron Johnson. He had a rough day. He was targeted a ton. Guys were getting some separation on him and making some. I'll give him credit, like some tough contested catches over him. Like the Bills were pressuring Andy Dalton, playing man-to-man coverage, forcing him to throw these balls up to the sidelines, and some receivers are making some impressive catches, and they just happen to be on Taron Johnson. So I don't think Taron Johnson's the player he used to be. I think the Bills are pretty much stuck with him contractually through the end of this year and through next year. But I think they're mixing in a lot of base to sort of counteract that. I think the Bills are probably going to spend this offseason assessing their options. If I'm the Bills and I'm looking for the next iteration of my nickel player, I'm probably looking for like a thicker nickel. I'm not looking for a Taron Johnson. I'm looking for like a safety, like a 205, 210, 215 pound dude who can play the nickel, who can play a little safety, can essentially be a linebacker. Like I'm looking for that type of player. I think if you're the Bills, that sort of what do we thick dime, big nickel. Like we have these conversations like the Kyle Duggar draft. I don't remember the nicknames we gave those guys at this point, but I think the next iteration of the Bills defense, I think they're going to start looking for that this offseason because I think Taron Johnson's days, again, I don't think his job is in jeopardy. I don't think his roster spots. I don't think any of that, but I think that it's no longer the days where Taron Johnson has to be on the field at all times. I'll say that. And I think the Bills are going to start over the next couple of off seasons here, looking for a plan B there and getting out of that contract before it's up, but can't do that with this year or probably next year. Special teams, Matt Prater makes the extra point, but he made everything else. I thought he had a solid day. Really awkward moment with the Dubs cam. I don't know if you saw the big Dubs. Matt Prater was just like, what's going on? Mitch Wisnowski didn't embarrass himself in this game. He had some good punts. The coverage units were good. We still have no juice in the return game. Still none.
Zero.
The running backs and the kick returns don't work. Curtis Samuel on the kick returns don't work. You had Khalil Shakir punt catching. You got Keon Coleman punt catching. Like even when Brandon Codring is out there, he doesn't even look like he has the same juice. I don't know if it's that knee injury he had in week 1 or what, but I actually went through, and when I was doing my work last night on the trade deadline, I actually went through the practice squads of some teams to look for practice squad options. Because you mentioned earlier, like, do we sign a defensive tackle off a practice squad? Like, there are some names that we liked in the pre-draft process. Guy like Broderick Martin is just sitting there on the Chiefs practice squad. There are a couple of names that we love, but there's no way in hell the Bills are just going to sign some inexperienced young dude to come play snaps for them. It's just not going to happen. But what I did notice is there are a ton of like solid return guys on practice squads. Like, if you look around the league, here's some names on some practice squads. If the Buffalo Bills decide we have the roster spot, we want to get rid of Brandon Codrington, we want to bring in a return guy, give a return guy a shot, a 3-week audition. Because if you poach someone off a practice squad, they got to be on your active roster for 3 weeks. Luke Grimm, the slot receiver from Kansas, went undrafted, had a big preseason returning punts for the Chargers. He's available. Britton Covey, the University of Utah, had the big Rose Bowl against Ohio State a couple of years ago. Had a really big, good rookie year for the Eagles. He is available. Amir Smith-Marset, sitting on the Giants practice squad. Raheem Blackshear, sitting on the Steelers practice squad.
Triggered some people with that one.
Naheem Hines, sitting on the Chargers practice squad. So if the Buffalo Bills, like with Blackshear and Hines, like, those are maybe some running backs you can give a look to behind James Cook, because your two running backs aren't impressing, while at the same time giving yourself a little bit of maybe juice in the return game. And then I really like Britton Covey. Amir Smith-Marset's been a favorite of mine. I don't really think those guys are going to help you at wide receiver, but hey, right? There's just been no juice in the return game this year. I don't know what it is. but we're just not getting it. So as I was scrolling through those lists of practice squad guys, those names all stuck out to me. I'm like, there's a lot of like return specialists on practice squads right now. So I doubt the Bills do it, but hey, you never know. All right, taking a look around the NFL, it wasn't so great for the Bills this week in the AFC East. Everyone else won. So the Jets got their first win. Good for them. I actually really feel great for Justin Fields to be able to stick a middle finger to Woody Johnson. He had some really awesome just comments post game too. Just really opened up, was really emotional about his mental health and all that stuff. So I don't want to root for the Jets, but that was a really nice moment for for Justin Fields, especially given the awful news with Nick Mangold that came out on Sunday morning as well. The Dolphins, Tua's new pregame meal really paying off for him. I don't know if you saw this, Dave, but Tua played through pink eye.
I did not know that.
I don't know what he was eating the night before that gave him pink eye, but people can make those assumptions in the comment section.
Ooh.
And then
there's only one way I know that you get pink eye.
Yeah, he's eating some pink. Yeah, I don't know, eating a lot of peaches the night before, and had himself some pink eye, and but went out there and balled out. So kudos to Tua. Maybe that's the key, just playing with pink eye.
Jesus.
But they got that dub, and then obviously the Patriots got a nice dub against the Cleveland Browns, and Drake May continues to ball out. So yeah, not a good week for the Buffalo Bills in terms of the AFC East. Would have loved for the Browns to get a shocking upset, but
I had too much faith in the Browns to try to
Dylan Gabriel
maybe match up well against the Pats in that one, but unfortunately didn't happen.
Anything else around the league really stick out to you? I'm trying to look to see what the score is this Chiefs game, but anything else around the league just sort of catch your attention?
Chiefs are up. Week? The Broncos, my pick to win the AFC West, are still they're stacking wins. They're 5-2.
How about my Colts?
Well,
dude?
Colts, your Colts to win the AFC South. And the one thing I would say, I honestly think he is. The Chargers, they go out, they crush on Thursday night. Obviously the Vikings, that team messed up their quarterback situation really in a bad way in the offseason. They had Daniel Jones and Sam Darnold, both of them out of the building. JJ McCarthy now going to come back and start for them. But I predicted the Vikings wouldn't make the playoffs this year, so that's looking good. But the Chargers look good. And yeah, the AFC is starting to kind of take shape. The Jags, they're kind of in a weird position where it's like there's these rumors of Brian Thomas Jr. being available, but they're 4-3 sitting in the 7 spot right now. So if you're the Jags, do you really want to do that when you're kind of in the mix to be a playoff team right now? And the Texans look like they're kind of starting to get their shit together too. So Lamar's coming back for the Ravens this week, and they were able to kind of do their thing against the Bears, so there's still a long way to go, but man, it'd be nice if the Patriots could slip up here one of these weeks. Would be kind of nice.
Pops Mafia comes in and says, when is the trade deadline? To my knowledge, I think I read today it's next Tuesday, so it's a week from today.
November 4th, I think.
Yeah, 4 p.m. So it's getting close. Ralph Wilson senior coming in saying, hey, there's an opening at LSU. Joe Brady won a national title at LSU as offensive coordinator. I think Joe Brady's going to get a couple of college looks this year. I think LSU
probably.
And I don't know. Penn State's got an open job, and one of Penn State's biggest donors may or may not own a franchise in the National Football League and have a connection to Joe Brady and Terry Pagula. So I think there'll be a couple options for Joe Brady at the college ranks this year. So
touchdown Chiefs about to be 21-7. That one looks
I didn't have much hope that Marcus Mariota was gonna throw on the butt. But I think that there's gonna be a couple of college jobs open to Joe Brady this year. And but people who are worried that he would leave in season, that's not how that works. He would stay with the Buffalo Bills until their season is over. But you could make the argument that if he gets one of these gigs, distracted, this, that, all that stuff. So, but you also got to think to yourself, right? You have Steve Sarkisian over at Texas, who's get me to the NFL. I'm sick of this college shit. Chip Kelly quit UCLA to go to not quit UCLA. He quit UCLA to go be the offensive coordinator with Ohio State because he was sick of being the head coach, and now he's with the Raiders. You see a lot of that. Like you saw Jim Harbaugh leave the college ranks. Obviously, he was kind of forced to, but Jesse Minter left. You saw Jeff Hafley leave. A lot of these guys are just like sick of this NIL stuff and this and that, and they're leaving the college ranks. So who knows if Joe Brady even wants to go down? So that'll be really interesting. All right, taking a look ahead. Obviously, the Buffalo Bills play the Kansas City Chiefs next week. Kansas City Chiefs are likely going to be what's their record going to be if once they beat the Commanders here today? They will be
5-3, I think.
5-3. So a battle of 5-3 versus 5-2 next week in Buffalo. It's in Buffalo, right? It's in Buffalo. In Buffalo. It's going to be the CBS crew is going to be there to do their pregame show. So they'll be live in person doing their college game day thing. Get to watch Nate Burleson, Bill Cowher go through a table again, probably. You get Jim Nantz and Tony Romo on the call. I don't think we've had Jim Nantz and Tony Romo yet this season. But, man, while we're on the announcers, give me Greg Olsen every week, dude.
I like Greg Olsen.
I know you didn't hear the game because you were out there in person, but
my buddy was on the flight with Greg Olsen's sister into Charlotte. So
nice.
That's something.
I will say this. If I were NBC, I'd be paying Greg Olsen whatever he wants to come replace Chris Collinsworth.
Oh, my God.
If I were Amazon, I'd be backing up the Brinks truck for Greg Olsen to replace Kirk Herbstreit. Like, he deserves to be a number one. He does not deserve to be Tom Brady's second chair. Like, Greg Olsen is a lead analyst. Obviously, CBS, Fox, ESPN have their dudes. I think NBC, Collinsworth's getting a little older. I think if you're NBC, you throw a blank check to Greg Olsen and get him to come over and be your color guy for the next 20 years. He is legit. The insight that he brings,
Greg Olsen deserved.
Yeah. He didn't deserve Tom Brady coming in and yanking his spot like that.
No, he got Wally pipped by Tom Brady, but hey, it's Tom Brady. So.
Looking at this Chiefs-Bills game, though, just obviously a huge contrast in style. The Bills very much trying to control the clock and run the football. A lot of heavy personnel. Not that the Chiefs don't go heavy, but you see a lot of speed from the Chiefs. You see a lot of motion, a lot of spacing. So two very distinctly different offenses. Kansas City's protected. Patrick Mahomes has thrown 2 picks today. I saw when I was looking at the box score, but they only had previous to this game 2 turnovers all year. They have a top 5 defense. Their offensive line is really banged up. So the Bills should hopefully be able to take advantage of that, even though Ed Oliver is not playing. But if you're the Buffalo Bills, I'm honestly at the point where I'm like, I really don't care what happens next week. Honestly, like if the Chiefs win, you know what I'm going to say to myself? We're flipping the karma. Because we always beat them in the regular season and lose in the postseason. So maybe we should just try something different. Just lay an egg out here next week and then it changes.
Well, you gotta keep your playoff position. So you better
F it. Chiefs came into our house and beat us. We'll go into their house and beat them.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's true.
When we reverse the karma by losing.
It would be nice to reverse.
This is all we gotta do. This is all we gotta do to fix all of our woes. Is just lose.
Although the COVID year they beat us in Buffalo and we still lost to them. That was the AFC Championship game year, I think.
Yeah. I'm sick and tired of you poking holes in my logic. This is not
too many holes.
This is not productive. This is not.
James Cook needs to have a day, although he usually has some pretty good games against the Chiefs. So it'd be nice.
Man, I really wish we had Oliver in that game. I think they could attack Trey Smith being out, but Deion Walker, Joey Bosa, Greg Rousseau, Michael Hoyt, like AJ Vanessa, go be dogs, go hunt.
Do your thing.
It'll be interesting to see how quick Patrick Mahomes gets the ball out, how our guys can tackle. They've been using a lot of Brashard Smith lately. Obviously, they're going to get the ball into the hands of those wide receivers. But, I mean, we saw last year, what was the big talking point after the playoff game last year? Chiefs were dog shit all year on offense because they were hiding everything for the postseason. And then they just unveiled some game plan they had never utilized before and just completely left the Buffalo Bills flabbergasted. And Patrick Mahomes had his best game in like 3 years. So, who knows if the Chiefs will come out with their some vanilla game plan. The Bills will win. They'll puff their chest, and then we'll be crying again.
Sounds.
Now I'm bringing the bad mojo. Now I'm bringing myself down. But I think that if there's any team for Josh Allen to get his mojo back against, it's the Chiefs, right?
That would be nice. Yeah, that could be a momentum shifter for the second half of the season for Josh Allen if he can get his mojo back.
But we have also seen this team struggle with the blitz, and you know who knows how to blitz the quarterback? It's Steve Spagnuolo. So
yeah,
but maybe they'll save that for January too, and they won't do it at all. So a lot of ifs and whats and stuff when it comes to the Kansas City Chiefs, because they have a really good coaching staff at the end of the day. Like Andy Reid's a freaking wizard, man, and Steve Spagnuolo's a evil genius, and Dave Taub is a great special teams coordinator. Like that team is just really well coached. So you just don't know what to expect when you play them. You don't. So
yeah, and they won't care. They won't really care much about showing anything in this game. So they may come out with super vanilla game plan against us. Wouldn't surprise me.
And that'll just do it for this evening. I don't know if anyone heard that, but my daughter just tried to bust in here, and she's banging on the door. So she's ready for Dada to go put her to bed. So thank you guys so much. Really appreciate you sticking with us this evening. You guys make the show. If you are looking to help us out here, you can smash that like button. You can share this on social media or text it to a friend. And you can always leave a comment after the show is over, and that helps us with the algorithm as well. So anyone looking to help us out, we thank you so much. And hopefully you don't hear my daughter screaming daddy, daddy in the background. But that'll just do it for us this evening. And until next time, go Bills.
Go Bills.
Thank you for watching tonight's episode of the Air Raid Hour. Make sure to hit that like button on the way out. If you are catching the show on demand, leave a reply in the comment section and we will respond over the course of the week. You can always listen to every episode next day on all major podcasting platforms, including Apple Podcasts and Spotify, by searching Air Raid Buffalo. Thank you for your continued support, and as always, go Bills!